Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, depending where you're at or when you're watching this. I thank you for coming to another episode of Stories, Soul Work, and Substack. I'm your host, John Ronaldo, Positive Pen, and you'll see me around here and there on my Substack. Just kind of give you a couple notes. The Wednesday's podcast or the Saturday's podcast we had with Writer's Notes, it was phenomenal, and we had so many people commenting on that. That was like I didn't expect that much of reaction, but that was huge. And thank you for everybody that showed up on our Saturday. I know we were all kind of busy, and it's the Easter weekend, but I think it was well worth it. And I think everybody that got asked questions and things like that, and I think our panels really enjoyed it as well. So it was really cool to see that. Another thing that we're working on is books by writers. So if you are a author now, I have April's open. So if you want to publish, if you want me to publish your book on my Substack and things like that, we're looking for the top 10 publications, all categories, no matter what it is, and we will help you promote it on Substack and other social medias, and hopefully get you some more additional reviews on Amazon. And I plan on doing a seminar or a podcast on the importance of why authors on Amazon who are independent needs those reviews. That's that. And then I know today I did not post, and that was intentional. I just wanted to give a day's rest on my posting, but we had the 4 o'clock podcast. So thank you for coming. If you're here today, thank you. My guest today is Tiffany, and we were chatting back and forth for about a month there back, and we were talking about Eastern philosophy, and I was kind of going through my stuff, well, sort of kind of going through my stuff still, but we're talking about my stuff. She was talking about her stuff, and there was some energy there between us, and I thought I'd bring her on because I think a lot of us don't really think about health in a positive way that could be, sometimes when we are dealing with health issues, we wait till the very last minute in our lives, and we don't focus on how do we start working towards a healthier lifestyle. And I don't mean you have to go run a 5-mile run every single day or go to the gym for 2 hours, or you have to eat, fruits and vegetables all day long. It's not just about that. It's a whole holistic thing about your life. There's your mind, your body, your soul, all that comes into play. And we all kind of need to figure out how that works best for you or for me or for anybody else. Each one is a little differently, and it's best to bring somebody who has some experience, and we'll bring in Tiffany now. And whoops, peekaboo. Tiffany, welcome in. I hope I did well by explaining a little bit of what the objective of this podcast is.
Yeah.
Like I said, one of the things, it's not just like when I was going through my stuff, and I'm still kind of going through it. It's the mental, it's the being mentally prepared for it. It's knowing how to handle yourself. It's how to fix some of the things internally that are emotional and all that kind of stuff. First off, how did you get into this world of Zen living? Let's start with that.
Well, I was kind of a weird kid, and I was kind of weird to begin with. So I was very sensitive. I was a very sensitive soul, and in many ways overly sensitive. And so it took me on a journey because I didn't quite fit into society, or this is how I was raised. They wanted me to fit in a mold, and so anyway, on my father's side, I had a lot of therapists, and they all wanted to fix me. They were like, "Oh, you're too sensitive. We need to fix you. We need to make you like this," and so it was really, really hard on me. So I tried, and I love all therapists out there. I'm not against any therapist, just so everybody knows. I love them. But when I went on the journey for myself, trying to help me with anxiety, because it was so deep and debilitating for me, I went, and that's when I went down this little bit different road. It started with just anxiety and a little bit of depression and all of these things, and I went down this Eastern road of understanding how the body is, and aligning mind, body, spirit, and knowing that anxiety is a part of us where we're not aligning with our soul. And also being a very open-hearted person, I could feel this anxiety on a deeper level. So I went, I traveled a lot. I met some teachers. One was, his name is Leong, and he was in Malaysia. And so I just started really studying it, going deep into it, understanding how meditation, really the depths of meditation and Qigong and what that does, and understanding a little bit what I think you might find interesting, and maybe your audience is, uh, what I study a lot is called Samphot meditation, which is a little bit different type of meditation, and it's Cantonese for manifesting what the heart desires. So we have an energy source within the body, and in the Chinese, I'll call it the Dantian or the Dantian. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Okay.
Explain.
Okay. So this is an energy source about 3 fingers below the navel. And it is, in science, I kind of think it would be called the Leydig gland, but in there they'll call it the Dantian. Now they'll say this is the seat of the soul, right? And they'll say that what it does, it's an energy source. When you breathe into it, right, it cultivates this life force within the body. Okay, it cultivates it and it expands. Have you seen how or heard lately how breath work is really popular?
Oh, you know what? Yeah.
Right?
So yeah, so here's the thing. One of the things, wow. So I think I understood. I maybe now you're explaining about it. Now
Mm-hmm. No,
I'm
it's okay.
not. I was in yoga because
Mm-hmm. It's
I had a
the
friend.
same with yoga. Yeah.
I was a friend, and she was explaining about that center thing and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Now it's now kind of like popping in my head. Like, yeah, I now kind of understand that, but I don't know fully of it. But I was dealing with tendonitis. I don't know if you're
Mm-hmm.
up to date on that, but I'm still dealing with tendonitis, which is the ringing in the ear. It's like
Mm-hmm.
really tight down
Mm-hmm.
the necks. And one of the things that so I finally called my chiropractor. I got in. I'm not
Right.
supposed to get chiropractor after April.
Uh-huh.
April I can start going depending on the test. But I went in there and he basically said, John, whatever you do, get outside and take deep breaths. You need to breathe. You need to take 15,
Ah,
20 minutes, go outside, spend 5, 10 minutes and
mm-hmm.
breathe. The more breathing, the more relaxed your body will become.
Yes.
And
You're
yeah,
cultivating this life force. Now, this life force, no, it's really real.
yeah.
Oh, it's true. And when you cultivate it, it starts to expand even more. And so it grows in this life force. It starts to expand within the body. And this is why when people will do breath work, they'll have kind of amazing things happen. They'll have sensations in the body. Sometimes maybe they'll even want to cry.
Mm.
There's different things that happen because they're working with their life force. They're working with their soul. So again, we're mind, body, spirit, but the breath is part of this connection to the soul on a deeper level. So it goes deep within the body, and we have an endocrine system that this is connected to. So this endocrine system is basically where, I feel that it's all of our spiritual centers, and it relates to our health. So the endocrine system is our overall immune system. So this energy here really relates to our overall well-being, and our emotions are really linked with this, and our overall healing. Understand our emotions and how they help in our healing. Yeah.
So I'll explain my early days of understanding this world that you live in, and
Okay.
it's a it no, not that a negative thing. I just didn't understand it. Like understand. I was a jock. I was a
Yeah.
pure
Yeah.
jock. I had no
Yeah.
interest in the arts. I mean, I thought that was a far thing. I mean, I built things. I kind of did my own thing. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I think one year we ended up in Tony Robbins' uh,
Mm-hmm.
seminar, and his breathing, he kept talking about breathing, and he
Yeah.
had great and I stopped doing it for I don't
Yeah.
know why. Stop doing it. And his meditation, the first thing in the morning is like it's like you pump your body up. It's a prime. You're priming your body up into
Mm-hmm.
having a good day, basically having a good day. But it also there's gratitude with it too. Like you pick good moments in your life, your gratitude, and then you're kind of like spreading that out. So it's this force that puts it out there. But the breathing prime is like very heavy, like very like heavy at first, and then all of a sudden you take it all in and you blow it out,
Yeah.
and it gets to the point. I mean, you're not dizzy, but you're
Yeah.
not like going like totally like oh
Yeah.
fainting. No, no. He
Yeah.
has you sit down and you do the prime,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's one of my first thing. And then I got into yoga because a friend got me into yoga, and I really, I need to like. There's a lot of practices that I failed to do
Yeah.
because
I,
of
no judgment. No judgment. I understand.
life things
Yeah.
change like that or whatever, and I really miss yoga. Yoga was a really good thing for me because after the practice I would sit there, like obviously there's meditation involved, there's these acrobatic things you do,
Yeah. No, it's true.
and your body is stretching, you're feeling better. I mean, it was probably one of the best things for my body.
Well,
And
yeah, because you're working those chakras, right? So
yes,
the energy
yes,
centers in the body, and you're
chakra.
yeah, they're the chakras. But I know it's all like it sounds so woo woo, but it isn't. It is just
No.
energy. We're all energy, and you're just working with those energies. And so some people will do yoga is like absolutely one of those things that can do. Qigong is another one, or Tai Chi. So as we age, for example, sometimes it might be like my body can't move that way anymore with yoga, or you can still do some. So this is where some people will move into these Tai Chi or Qigong or energies, but these are just movements and flow of energy. So when you are in flow, for example, you start to get into your breath and you start to work with this that I'm talking about, there's an internal flow within your body, right? There's an alignment with your body, there's an internal flow in your body. When you really start working with meditation and breath, you come into flow. So you can start to feel your body. And this is where Tai Chi and Qigong originated, because what they would do is they could tell my body might want to move this way or this way. You could feel that there's a natural flow. I don't know if that makes sense to you,
No,
but
it does. No.
a
Yep.
natural flow within the body. And when we come back to our breath and we come back to this meditation, and or however you're doing it, and even in nature, if you look at nature, there's a natural flow. If you know, so we're coming back in, there's you can start to feel and you work with this, and you'll notice when you're out of flow or out of alignment, just like a chiropractor, you were saying with your chiropractor. If the body is out of alignment, it's out of alignment. It can be whether, and this is where yoga can be really good on bringing your body back into alignment. This is physical alignment or spiritual alignment. They're kind of all intertwined. And I think that's where people, I don't know. I think everyone goes, I know I'm supposed to eat right. I know I'm supposed to like exercise. I know I'm supposed to do all this stuff. But then they don't really put in the spiritual side. They're like, well, I went to church. Does that count? But the church is inside you, I think, you know.
That's true. I agree with that. But I think when you go to church, I'm a Roman Catholic. I grew up Roman
Yeah, I
Catholic.
grew up Catholic too.
And so you Latin mass, all that kind of stuff. But I think if you think about it, church had a meditation part of it,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the hums, the music,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the prayers. Those were like deep thoughts, and if you really took them in, those were your meditation moments in a thing. So can technically that be the meditation, trying to keep yourself in line? And I
Oh, yes. I absolutely think so.
yeah. So that's one thing I was thinking about.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so when you're kind of like going out, but this is extra stuff that you do, like the morning prayer or evening prayer. Like when we were kids, we did the morning, like we would kneel,
Hmm.
do a prayer beside our bed and all that. It's to prepare your body, obviously, to
Hmm.
go to sleep, and then obviously waking up is to the same thing. I think we replace it with these other things. Not saying that's not possible, but I'm just saying is that as we get older, I think we lose the importance of that, not the prayer, but the importance of preparing your body and your mind and your soul before you go to sleep and after you go to sleep and when you wake up. And I think we've lost that as a society.
I think you can, I can agree with you more. And if you look at this is my little thing here. This isn't about me like saying, oh, look at this, look at this. This is a ritual for me to remind myself to sit and meditate every morning. So I will sit, and so I use it as a reminder for myself, right? So it's a reminder for me to come to me and me to remember why we're here, the importance of it. And so that's why I have it. It's just a reminder. So I think it's absolutely true. So it keeps me centered for me. It's not about, and I have it here. I actually have it away from my family so they don't feel the pressure of, of like, you have to follow me. I want them to find their way. You know what I mean? That's really
Yeah.
me too. So it's here in my office. It's my little space where I meditate and do those it's rituals, like you said. I think we need those rituals. And so again, it's off balance. So if I get off balance, for example, and I'll feel my anxiety going on, and that's kind of a state for me, I'll go, oh, I need to come, and I meditate. I'll do my qigong, or nature is a big one. If you sit out, so I just sat in nature and I meditated out there, and I can feel it, me coming back to it, back into my own alignment. And it's the no it's a flow.
Well, when I take Remy out for a walk, and now I have his brother with him, which is Colt, the two dogs.
Yeah.
Um, we go there. The path is pretty easy. We go down to the park, which is maybe a block or two, and then we get into this little path, and then it takes us right into this wooded area with a little lake in it, and it's maybe a 4 mile, 5 mile walk. But once I get in there with the trees, that's one of the things I
Yeah.
missed Vancouver is I can go into the woods and I can get lost. And I am, but not lost in the sense of, oh, I'm getting myself lost. No, lost in Mother Nature so I can feel the healing again. I felt alive in the trees and the water and all that. We had the ocean, we had the ocean breeze, we had the fresh, the mountain air, all that was there. And now I'm kind of like stuck in a landlocked type thing. Now there's water everywhere, but when I go into that treated area, I feel a little bit alive, but I do need that extra stuff, and I try to do that every day. So
Oh, I love that.
yeah, but
Yeah.
that's the kind of stuff that I mean, it's understanding your body. I mean, like now back to your original thing where how you started, right?
Hmm.
Like you went down this path, you did all those research. What made you start thinking about you talked about all the therapists and all that in your family, but
Yeah.
how did you find how did you settle with this? Like what was
Well,
the aha moment?
yeah. Well, when I started meditating, when I really started to meditate, and I talked about this daunting, when I really started to do it, and you really focus on this breath, you can do it for about 30. I started to have a shift. I started to feel my anxiety lessen. I really started to go, wait a second, there's something to this. And I started getting really into, okay, well, this is actually working. Like, so meditation, as simple as it sounds, is one of them, is the number one branch in Chinese medicine. And it's really because you're coming back in. And what it's doing again is that you're working this, cultivating this chi, and it starts to slowly rewire the mind. So we have these synapses in the brain. And so let's say you're a negative thinker. So that was one of my big things. I was like a negative thinker. So I used to like have like, like many people where you're like, you're not good enough, you're this, you're that, you have those
Right.
negative thoughts, right? And I was like, God, I just don't like this. I want to start. This is horrible. So as I started meditating, I would start. It would slowly start to work and start to change my thoughts and everything like that. So the meditation was really starting to work. And the other thing that was an awareness is, okay, we have emotions, right? And a lot of people will have certain emotions, like, but we won't want to feel them. I don't know if you've ever had that where you're like, well, you wake up one day, and we have this thing, I call it kind of toxic positivity. So we're always supposed to be happy. I want to be happy all the time. Haven't you ever had it one day where you're like, okay, I'm happy this day? You wake up the next day and you're like, I'm not feeling very happy.
Grumpy pants.
You're like, I want to be happy, but you're just not there. You're just like feeling
Yeah.
out
You're
energy.
off. You're just having
You're
an off
yeah,
day. Yeah.
having an off day. Now what we do is we judge that off day, right? As humans, we're like, well, you should be happy. Why aren't you happy? Or not everybody. I'm just saying,
Yeah. Agree.
this can be, something that happens. What energy work tells you to do, and this kind of free flow, it'll say, well, rather than judge yourself on this day, if you're feeling sad, be sad. Flow with that emotion, because what happens if you don't is it lands inside the body. Okay. And I think I've saw some of your things on doing generational healing, right? So when we start to free flow with this emotion rather than judge it, it has a way of almost doing a transformation and moving in and moving something that's healing, maybe something generational, something that landed in the body, something that you might not even be aware of what you're healing. And that's part of the judgment, because we're like, well, if I'm going to cry today, why am I crying? I need to know why. You might not always know why, and it might come later, right? But it's important to free flow with emotions. That's part of this ancient practice of understanding, because they'll say certain things like, um, anger is related to the liver, for example. So if you hold on to anger, that will start to harm the liver, and it also, anger is another one that will start to harm the joints and the muscles and all of these things if you don't free flow with anger. Now, I'm not saying you go out and yell at somebody and scream at them or anything like that, but I am saying maybe go out in nature and go yell it or scream it or go out and box it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Take
if
your aggression out somewhere.
yeah, because what you don't feel goes inward. You don't realize what's going on. A lot of times people aren't aware what is landing on their body and what is not unprocessed. Does that make sense? So
Oh no,
this is
totally
what
understand
happens,
that.
and that's
No.
what's so important. Mm-hmm.
So I was a kid. I was pretty. I was a. I was a tough kid, and
Mm-hmm.
lived in a really bad area of town, Vancouver.
Right.
And kids would always pick on you, or you'd fight, whatever the case may be. We would fight.
Right.
And this one day, these two kids ganged up on me, and I just took them out. Like I was just going nuts on them.
Right.
By the way, I don't have that energy anymore.
It's okay. I'm not judging anyway. I
I
have a
don't
little
have that.
anger in me, so I'm okay.
But the beautiful part was this guy named Bill in the neighborhood picked me up. He was a boxer coach. He was a boxer manager, and he says,
Oh,
and he saw me fight, and he said, "Kid, come here." Like
yeah.
I was like 12, 11 years old, I think it was. So he pulls me in his garage and he goes, "I see you like to fight." And I said, "No, I don't like to fight, but if I have to, I will." Type attitude,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'd rather not fight. I'd rather not, like, I was like one of those kids, like, I don't want to fight, but I know I can take care of myself, more or
Right.
less.
Right.
He goes, "Well, kid, I see something in you." So for about half an hour or an hour, he took his time. He had me punching the bags, doing sit-ups, push-ups, all this stuff. And he says, "You want to come back here, same time tomorrow, come in." And so the next day I came in, did the same thing over and over again, and then again and again and again. And then eventually I started boxing.
Oh.
Not intentionally, just started to
Mhm.
box and but to your point was that I needed an outlet, because then when
Yeah.
I went to go fight, or when I was in confrontation, I was able to say, "You know what, I'm too tired for this." And
No, but
then
it's
you walk
an
away.
energy. So
Yeah.
some people in the Vedic system, they'll call this pitta energy. Some people are fiery energy, and it's called pitta. And if you're a pitta energy, you should be either a boxer or get it out or some way, because otherwise it's going to be, who knows where it's going to go, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is a positive way, and it doesn't mean somebody's bad if they're fiery. There's good fiery. We need the people out there a little bit who are like fighting for positive things out there. Or, I mean, there's a righteous fighting, I guess, but then
Yes.
there's the negative fighting. You don't want to do that. Where you're just yelling and screaming at somebody because you're angry. You take a breath, because otherwise you go alter that relationship, right? So you have to take a breath, go do what you're doing. Maybe you go out and box. I mean, I think it's such a healthy thing, because some people, it's part of their body, and that's where there's again no judgment, because some people are going to be more, they'll call it kapha, more sensitive types, more of this energy where they're feeling types. Some people are pitta, where they're a little bit more fiery. It's just actual body types and energy types.
Yeah. And that's when I played a lot of sports when I was younger.
Yeah.
I mean, I would, there was moments of, of thinking things through. You had a mind moment where you're always thinking about projecting what you're looking to do in the field, or whatever the case may be. You're always thinking about, and sort of premeditation of what
Yeah.
you want to become. And then the athletic part of it was always being in the gym, trying to run, do all the stuff that you need to keep your energy level up. But as I get older, I needed to find a different way of doing things. And I mean, for about 10, 15 years, I did nothing in a sense of athletic wise, like had kids, kind of just went away. And then I started developing some health issues because of my sports injuries, but also because I didn't really take care of myself.
When did you do yoga then? When did you start that?
I started about 3, 4 years ago.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good.
It was good. Like her Diane basically said, "You need to get your ass into yoga."
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and I showed up and I was like totally lost. I had no clue what I was doing. I was fumbling, but
yeah,
again, the more practice you do, the better you get, and that's what
yeah.
was happening. Over years or so, I got better, and it was good. It was good for me. And then when I went home, I felt even better because I did that. And a combination of the gym, combination of yoga, and then I started doing more meditation. That felt even better.
Yeah.
And I always thought breathing. What I always was told breathing was important, especially when I went to
Most
growing up.
important. Yeah.
And sometimes you just like, oh, I can skip that, not to worry about it. And you do. It's like, okay, I can skip it. I'll worry about tomorrow, or oh, it's just too much time. But reality is, the more I think about it now, and after the conversation I had with a chiropractor, I think about it. It's like, breathing has been a sign that I keep missing in
Yeah.
my health journey.
It's your life force. Now think about it. Didn't that happen in your lungs?
Yes.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hopefully not,
No, you can.
I
Uh,
want to just be tender about it with you a little bit.
no, you could.
Yeah,
You can. You can. I know. I know. You could be. You could be honest.
okay.
I'm a straight shooter, so I'm good.
Okay, good.
Um, I don't take anything offense.
Yeah. But that is an indicator of the breath, and the breath is life. It is life force, and there is such a powerful thing. I can't even emphasize it enough how powerful it is. And it seems so simple. You go, really? The breath could do all of that? Are you kidding me? And I'm like, yeah, yeah. I know it sounds crazy, but it is your life force. That's why. And there's an energy within the body, and
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy, but it really can alter so many things.
Well, when the chiropractor told me the other day, it was like Thursday, it was, and because I just had enough. I'll
Hmm.
tell you what happened.
Hmm.
So I went to the doctor. The doctor, my family doctor, said, "We're going to put you on steroids, okay? And we're going to see if
Hmm.
we can knock this out. We think it's the sinus infection." I'm thinking,
Okay.
I don't think it's a sinus infection. It feels in my neck and down my shoulders, especially this one because it's
Uh-huh.
it's the one that had it's fractured. It has a rod in there, and I can feel it down my back of my thing. I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's a tendonitis, right? I'm thinking
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
And he's like, "No," and I thought I wanted some muscle relaxer or something just to help with the muscles, right?
Right.
And he's like, "No, we're going to deal with steroids. Let's knock this out." I'm like, "Okay." So I did this 5-day treatment of steroids, and I messaged him and I said, "Okay, I did that hasn't gone away." He goes, "Well, then you need to go see an ear doctor."
Hmm.
I went, "I'm gonna fire you. I'm just gonna fire you. You just are wasting my, like, first you've misdiagnosed me in December, almost cost my life,
Yeah.
and now you're taking me down roads that I don't need. I don't need extra steroids. I need a doctor to really say, okay, this is what it is, not a guessing game." And
Right.
that's when I get sick and tired of these
Oh, I
medication,
with
these
you. Yeah.
doctors, because
Yeah.
they just, it's like, here, prescribed, gone. I don't want to deal with you. And I remember, and I'm sorry to get a
Oh no, go
little
ahead.
irate, but I think people need to understand this. The medical field doesn't give a shit about you. Period.
No, no.
You got to fight for yourself. And I
Hmm.
can't stress that even more. I can't stress that. You have to fight for yourself.
You have to kind of become your own doctor to some
Big
degree.
time.
Yeah, you really do.
And when I was in the doctor, and then when I came back from the hospital, he goes, "Wow, it sounds like you really had a big deal." And I was like, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, you SOB, You could have got me a CAT scan. We could have figured this out weeks prior to all this. Why do I need to go through? Like I had like 5 emergency. No,
Oh, you poor thing. So
it was.
you mean to say that all of that happened before they finally this
Yeah, yeah.
happened?
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
oh, oh,
So it was a day
oh,
after Christmas. I wasn't feeling well. I
oh, you
was
poor
laying
thing.
down, and I was sick, and I was like, oh, like, honey, I was like going to Marina. I was like, I just need a
Yeah,
couple of days just to kind of sleep it off because whatever
yeah,
I thought I had a flu. So then the weekend came, I bounced back up, and I was like, okay, I feel a little better. The next following day, I think we did something, and then the next following day, boom, went to bed, felt really bad again, and then I was like going to urgent care, and then I was trying to get a hold of a doctor and all
right,
this stuff, right? And I was kind of like rely on them to diagnose me, but all of them were not diagnosing me until I got to one care center, and he said, "You know what? Um, you got let's go take an X-ray. Let's see what's happening." So we took an X-ray, and he says, "I see a little bit of ammonia in your bottom lung. What we're going to do is do a treatment for that." And I thought, okay, I can't believe we're actually resolving things, right?
right.
And then got into the doctors, and he says, "Well, we're gonna double dose it. We're gonna give you some more." So my family doctor even gave me more prescriptions during that period of time to knock this out. Well, from that point on,
Yeah,
nothing was working. I was still feeling sick, still feeling bad. I was getting grayer and grayer and grayer,
right.
and it was really bad. And and then I ended up to another doctor, a family doctor that happened to be in the same practice, but another doctor is a PA, and she says, "You know what? You need to go see. We need to get you a CAT scan. Can you get a CAT scan today?" Well, that was a Friday, and I was like, and I'm back in my head. I was like, "Well, I'm supposed to get a CAT scan next Friday," like type thing, and because I needed it for something else, and I was like, I don't really want to have too many CAT scans. And what happened was, um, that was the Sunday, the heavy snowstorm in the Northeast,
Mm-hmm.
and I was sitting on the couch. We were watching a movie, and I was like, you know what? I couldn't breathe. I couldn't. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't feel like I was breathing right, and
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like. And she said, "I'm going to give you this steroid inhaler. If it doesn't help in 24 hours, you need to go see. You need to go to the emergency room, no matter what." And I was like,
Wow.
"Okay." So I'm sitting there thinking, I'm sitting on the couch and I can't breathe. I'm not feeling well. I'm feeling
Uh,
like really bad, and I was like, crap. And so it was snowing outside. We had like 12 inches of snow, bad storm, things kind of shutting down. And I'm like, do I call the ambulance or
yeah.
should I drive in? And I'm like, I need to go there now. I can't wait for anybody.
Thanks. That's you listening. Yes, yes.
So I'm just, and then, Marie's like, can't we just go tomorrow? I was like, no, we're going tonight. And then, so we couldn't get her car out because she had 2 wheels and it was like, whatever. So I had a
Yeah,
company car and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to get my company car and I'll just take that.
right.
And, cause it was 4-wheel drive, and we ended up going to the hospital that night. And I would say within a half an hour, we just got right in. Like it was like
Right.
no lines, no nothing. Got in, and I drove all the way there too
Oh,
in the
wow.
snowstorm. Amber
Wow.
she goes, you drive really well in the snow, and I was like, I better hope so because I lived in northern BC,
That's great.
Yukon, and all that for
Yeah,
like a couple years. I better
yeah,
know how to drive the snow.
yeah.
So, anyways, I guess it was just will too, but
I think so. I was like, yeah,
I
I feel
think
it.
it was a little bit of everything.
Well, I can do this. I'm
Focus. So we ended up in the hospital, and within half an hour, he comes back after all this testing, the blood test. He goes, "Well, there's some things that we're not happy with. We need to get a CAT scan." So they did a CAT scan, and within 5 minutes of the CAT scan came in, you got primary clots. Are you aware of that? I
Oh,
was like, what? And that was just like I have like ammonia. Like what are you
yeah.
talking about that? Like, well, we don't know how you got it, but you got pulmonary clots. And I was like, and
Yeah.
think about it. I'm in my 50s.
Yeah.
That is not heard of
Yeah.
for me in my
Yeah.
life. I'm
Yeah.
like, and I freaked and I kind of sat there and I was like, wow, that's so I was thinking, no wonder I couldn't breathe. There's no
Yes.
wonder I couldn't take deep
Yes.
there's
Absolutely.
there's a reason for all that, and they found out that one of my lungs was collapsing,
Oh.
heavily blood clots,
Uh,
and then one blood clot was pressuring my heart, and they said, "Well, you're in the wrong hospital for this. We have to upgrade you to a little bit of emergency care, and
oh
so we're going
goodness.
to ship you somewhere else." So they shipped me off, and I spent 5 days there. Yeah,
Wow, that is an amazing story. I'm
yeah.
so happy you took care of yourself and did that.
Mm.
Now, on an energetic level, right?
Sorry about that.
No, don't be sorry. I'm so
But
glad you shared. I hope, like, I want to share this with you, and this is, I'm trying to find the right words. So, so
let's
one
shoot
of
from
the
the
things,
hips.
okay. So one of the things I think of right away when you tell me that, of course, is the breath in the lungs, like I just said. And I know that sounds so simple, like breathe, but you're not using that enough, right? It's like your life force. It is literally your life force. It's putting that back into your body. Now, the other thing that I want to bring up is the blood, right? So when we think of our blood, when you think of blood, it's like, I think it's like 90% water, you
Mm.
know, it's a lot of water. Now, have you ever heard of the researcher Iamoto? And he did the water droplets. Where have you ever heard of him? And you would, so people would pray, or they'd make a they'd say, okay, I'm going to think of love, and then the water droplet it would change its molecular structure on the thought.
Hmm.
Now, this is real. So he was a scientist and he was a researcher. You can look him up. I can send you information. I can't remember his first name, but this was years of research. People have documented it. So they know that water, there's a very mystical, magical part to water, is why I'm saying to say this. So our thoughts, when we think about our thoughts and what we're putting it into our bloodstream, right? So it's really important that we really are self-compassionate to ourselves, that we really are very loving and kind to ourselves, because this is a whole system within the body. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
That you, if you are sitting there and pouring in, not saying that you're doing this, I'm just wanting you to be aware of this in your own body,
Mm.
that you're sitting there thinking of whatever you're telling is going through, and the blood circulates everywhere. The blood is, again, kind of like similar. So you have your life force of your breath, then the circulation of the heart, which is going through the blood, right? So I'm just trying to say that as an energy for you to be kind of aware of. Wow, you really want to take care of you. Like, you really want to, what are you putting in? What are you saying? What are you doing? And your thoughts and your body and your breath, all of it. It's all part of it. I hope that makes a little
Yeah.
sense.
No, like the
And
well,
I'll send the Iamoto guy. It's fascinating because you really literally see the water droplets change. It completely changes the molecular structure. It's fascinating to watch it.
I think I've heard of him. He's a Japanese scientist.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I think I've heard of him, and he had something about the power of thought.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of it. And that's now I don't recall as well as with it, but I think I've heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
But as I was sitting there
Mm-hmm.
through that process, one of the things I was thinking about, I was like, geez, I don't like. I was trying to I was in denial, but I
Mm-hmm.
also was not in denial because I was like suffering.
Right.
And when I was sitting there, and one of the things I kept thinking to myself, what possessed me to get off that couch and come to the hospital? Because it would have been simple to just sit there, because that's what the doctor said.
Yeah.
What possessed you
Yeah.
to drive? Like what? I said I couldn't breathe. I didn't feel like I couldn't get enough air. I didn't feel like I could breathe. And he's like, well, I can't tell you how many days you would have had or how many hours you would have had, but that probably saved your life.
It did. And I think there was something more, like there was some spiritual significance, whether it be angels, guide, your higher self, something, you knowing this higher level of you going, you better go, you better go. There was something pulling you. And I think it was, I do think it's a higher thing. I do. That's my belief, though. I've had so many experiences in my own life that have been very much. I was in a bad car accident
Mm.
when I was, young, and I had this voice, at the time, very loud, telling me, "Don't do it. Don't let this guy drive." I didn't listen. Right? I didn't listen to that voice. Of course, we get in the car. Well, guess what happens? We, go off the side of the road, and a major car accident where I'm telling you, I almost died. I hit the dash. I had they all like braces. I was young, went down into my mouth. My brother was also one of the surviving people, had to get help and everything else. It was so life changing. But one of the biggest things of that was that I didn't listen. And I always listen now to my intuition because of that moment. Because of that moment, it just altered everything because the voice was so loud for me. It was very loud saying, "Do not do this." And I was like, oh, I just dismissed it and went, thought I was smarter than it or whatever. So I think we do have that internal voice, is all I'm saying. That whatever you want to call it, intuition, whether, I think it's very real.
Oh no, I you talk about intuition. When I was really young, I was dealing with a business transaction, and
Mhm.
it was a Japanese business person,
Yeah.
and we were dealing on a business, and I think we were. I can't remember the exact thing, but one of the things he said to me, he goes, John, this is great, but I want to go back home and digest it
Hmm.
physically. I go, what do you mean digest it? Because I was young and naive. He
Hmm.
said, no, I want to kind of like take the deal and kind of like swallow it and
Yeah.
digest it in my body to
Yeah.
see how this goes. Well, I'm like 20 something. I have no clue what that meant. I'm like yeah, whatever, dude. Like just
Wait, that's a little weird, but you go digest all you want.
you digest like you eat what you want, man. I don't care. Are you gonna make the deal or not make the deal?
Yeah.
But I mean, now looking back, I completely understand what he was saying.
Hmm.
And then I didn't because I wasn't mature enough to understand.
Right. Yeah.
And nor did I experience enough of it to understand it. Now I understand that the intuition part of the world that we ultimately ignore all the time. That's something that I think we need to like. I think schools should be teaching this stuff.
Well, absolutely. And bringing that up really fast too, because when we meditate, again, I bring this up and we work with this energy of life force, this starts to open up your intuition more. It works with the heart energy. So not only are you cultivating your chi, but you're really coming in. So when I always obviously came into this life with this intuition, but it really opens this part of you up more. And it's very real because it can help us feel good about ourselves in many ways because you're closer to you. You're like, oh yeah, I have this intuition, I feel this, and this is, like he said, the digestion part, or because you have to know what's right for you or what's wrong for you,
Yeah.
what
Yes.
direction you need to go, and or is this good, is that bad? And I think everybody is a self journey, and you got to find your way. So it feels good to know. You're like, yeah. So you had that intuition when you were like, I have to go right now. I
Yeah.
gotta,
Yeah.
I'm going. Marie, is that her way? Maria,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
I'm
funny.
going.
It's and she's like a tough girl too. Like she'll just tough it out, like type
Yeah,
thing. Which I have that mindset too. Like one of the things that we do today as I say Gen Xers mostly,
yeah, yeah,
we're raised to basically tough it out. You don't need a doctor. Let's just wait a couple days and figure it out. Well, it was about a month before I even took some serious actions, even though I did some intermediate, like go and see a
yeah,
doctor, go to emergency care, blah, blah, blah. But she's a tough girl. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Uh,
this again is your emotions, like paying attention. So we're coming into more of a heart centered place a little bit. I don't know how much if you hear about generational healing, we're all kind of healing things a little bit, going way
yeah.
back.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a very real thing. So one of the things I've been taught, which I really, really align with, is the greatest gift we can give to this planet. The greatest gift is service. I believe that. But the first greatest gift you can give is to heal yourself, is to heal you, because what you're really doing when you heal you is you're ultimately radiating out and helping these generational people heal as well. Because have you ever heard of that mouse story? of epigenetics, where they did research on the mouse and how trauma.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So this is a very real thing, that we just pass down our trauma, and
Mhm.
where does the trauma land in Chinese medicine? It lands in the body. And until you start working with things also energetically, right? So meditation comes to self, and you start working with things energetically, or yoga, or things like that, and you process. This is why breath work, all that stuff is really related. But emotions, I guess what I'm really trying to say, are they're really good indicators of what you need to work on and heal.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I so there was so 2019, 2020, that's when I really lost a lot of myself,
Yeah.
meaning in a positive way, because that old John
Yeah.
wasn't the guy I really wanted anymore. It
Oh,
was
I love that. I have
I
to say.
just was, he was you know, excuse me, didn't understand boundaries, just kind of like just it didn't there was a lot of things going on there. I just did not like him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm progressed into this new John, which has been in the development for the last 6 years. So it was more of a rebirth, more or less.
I like it.
In the way that now I found art, I found writing, I paint, these little things that are kind of cool, but I'm
Well.
also dealing with a whole bunch of other things. And
Mm-hmm.
but there was one day, and this popped in my head. I was talking to somebody, and they just kept blaming the past. Everything was about a blame, a blame, a blame, a blame. You're
Mm-hmm.
your fault. It's always your fault. It's this person's fault. I don't understand why that person hates me. It's your generation, type attitude. And I went, I'm going to tell you something, and this is going to be a hard pill to swallow. And when you do swallow this, you're going to have a choice. And the choice is you're going to have either one day you're going to wake up and you're going to see that victimhood mentality is no longer working.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you're going to get in a rut, and you're going to be in a situation where the pain is going to be so hard to overcome. And it's going to internally hurt you internally, and it's going to
Mm-hmm.
bug you. It's going to eat you alive. And you're going to have that choice. Either you accept the past and let it go,
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to continue to live this way until you die.
Yeah, I agree.
That's your choice. But I tell you right now, even though you chose to ignore it and move on, you'll never able to ignore it, because it'll just repeat it and it'll get manifest higher and higher. And that's what I think. The more you ignore the stuff in your life, it just magnifies. It grows bigger and bigger and bigger
Uh,
until the day you have to solve it, the day that you have to deal with it, the
yeah.
day that you have to say, enough is enough. I'm done with this.
Yeah.
That's when you start waking up. And when you wake up, it's a different life.
It is a different life. And one thing I would add with waking up, well, a lot of us are very hard on ourselves for our past, or what we did, or whatever, whatever, because we all have our own little traumas, or we all did whatever we did, bad things, good things. But we want to look at that made us who we are, right?
Yeah,
There's a lot
absolutely.
of that made us who we are. So we want to, I think, harmonize, because so many people, we're so judgy on ourselves, right? And we're so hard on ourselves. This is where self-compassion comes in again with the heart. It's like having like this awareness of like, okay, like you're kind of saying that was the old John, now this is the new John. But the old John made up the new John, right?
Hmm.
So this part of yourself you can say, and I think this can help in your healing, because you can kind of say, you know what, that part, that's okay. That part of me is me, that made me who I am. So you harmonize with that. So many times we'll say, I like this part of me, I don't like this part of me, I don't like this part of me, and I like this part of me, rather than taking the whole package and saying, you know what, it's all me, it's all like me. And I say this in a harmonization, because again, it's energy. Because once we start doing that, then I don't know, I just want to add that to the conversation a little bit,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's the energy that happens with that, because we can be kinder to us.
Yeah.
It's
I'm not dismissing the old John. I'm not
good.
dismissing, because there's a lot of things that John
Good.
did back then. And I do write about when I do write about the little John, and I do bring up some other stories and things like that. So,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of good things that happened in my life. I'm not going to dismiss it. I mean,
Good.
a lot of it was good. I mean, I had a good life for what it was. I mean, I met Bill at 11 years old, taught me how to box, taught me how
Yeah.
to get, figure myself out.
Yeah.
I mean, there was so many things going on there that, I mean, I have childhood family and friends since I was born. I mean, we're still friends and all that, and till today. When I say new, and I think it's that pivotal point in your life, and I think we've all get there to the crossroad. Because once you start going down that, like, uh, how should I say? Okay, so you're in a relationship,
Hmm.
okay, and the relationship is kind of rocky, and there's been a lot of tests going back and forth, right? And you're getting to the point where, and this is how I would feel.
Yeah.
Get to the point where you get at the crossroad, and the person keeps pushing you, pushing you, pushing you, pushing you, pushing you, and you keep trying to hold and trying to solve, but it's making you weaker.
Hmm.
I would say at that time, if I go down this road without you, I'm not coming back, because that John is no longer that John anymore.
Hmm.
Because as I keep moving on forward, I'm growing and I'm learning to not to deal with you or
Yes.
be in your life. And I think we all get there to a point where we live a life that, we make choices. Everything's a choice. All your whole life is a choice.
Hmm.
And if you choose to push people away, you're going to get people walking away from you, and you're going to be always crying, well, why people walk away from me? Well, you keep pushing them away.
Right.
If you are controlling and demanding, you're going to find out why you don't have any friends, because you're just too difficult to work with. I mean, those phrases and those images that we can put out there, and playing victim or doing all this or gaslighting or whatever, all these little things,
Yeah.
it's all because you're projecting what you want in life. And one of the things that I learned through the Tony Robbins and through meditation and through the yoga was, if you want a good life, you think about a good life. And then the good life doesn't mean you have to be all roses and rainbows. It means a good life that is at peace. When 2019 happened in 20, I one major thing I wanted was peace in my life.
Hmm.
And no matter what that looked like. And if I lost people, I lost people. If I hurt, it was a matter of my peace. And
Yeah.
now I have peace. And that's where the new John comes in. I guess John's found peace.
Yeah.
And so when I was sitting in the hospital, I remember the peace coming in, like settling in, like, okay, this is it. Either either you work through, either you start working through this and you start advocating certain things. And if you don't pay attention, again, this is like, you need to understand your body more, because as you get older, you're going to get more of these things. So you can't just ignore them like you were like 20 years ago. Because I have a mind of a 25-year-old still. I still think I run. I think I could
I
do
think we
things.
all do a little bit,
I
but
know, but it's just stupid to think that. And I don't mean that to be.
no, it's an awareness. But when you're talking, it's kind of making me think of this, because self betrayal. So if we're not aligned with ourselves, self betrayal, if we're betraying ourselves, or we're not being in tune with, like what you're saying, you're kind of moving into a new energy, a new John, a new self. You're like, this is who I want to be. And if you do self betrayal, that hurts your nervous system a lot. It really does affect disorders and fatigue, and again, the body. And so we want to recognize, and listening to you, you were recognizing, okay, I'm moving and I'm growing, and I'm moving in, and I got to honor this new John, where my soul wants to go, where however you want to say the word. But it is an inner knowing or an intuition, like, I am growing. And you're not wanting to self betray. You're aligning with more of who you are, where you want to go, and that's an energy as well. It's an inner thing of mind, body, spirit, right?
Mhm.
And so that's what it sounds like to me. So you're coming in a many ways in alignment. You're bringing forward and growing into this, and that's true. That's about self growth.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
And it is very interesting. That's all I'm trying to say is how energy does. And so in the Chinese medicine, they'll relate everything to an organ or your emotions and kind of go, well, this is related to this.
Right.
And there's a manifestation that can happen. But I would say with you, this health thing really has a great opening for you. If you can turn it into it, I think it can be, very opening. I hope that doesn't, I think it can be very heart opening for you.
Well, I know. I appreciate it. No, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I really do. I think it can be very transformational and very awakening for you. And I think we look at things like, again, we look at things like a health thing, like I must have done something wrong, or I didn't eat right, or I didn't do this right, or I didn't do that right, or we're leaving. And we maybe have the things that we like, that we're healing these emotional generational wounds, but we're also clearing it out, right? We're also healing it. And that's another way of looking at it. Like you are healing that part of yourself. And again, it's not being hard on ourselves. We're like, okay, I'm going to work with this as my body, come into my body and really look at it through different eyes, I guess. I don't know if that makes any sense,
No,
but
I mean, actually, at that point, I was looking at it. I was detoxing, really.
yeah, exactly. You can look at it. I love that. Yes, that could be a
My
great one.
body was detoxing and needed to get
Yes.
rid of the whatever it was inside me.
Yeah.
And the only way my body could react was to shut me down because I was too, I was gonna fight it out, and it needed it. And my body was like, okay, I know this kid. This kid's acts like he's 25 years old, but he's not gonna stop, and he's
Yeah.
gonna keep going. So I got to
Yeah.
shut him down, and
Yeah.
he's gonna go through a pain, and
Yes.
he's gonna learn a lesson here
Yeah.
along the way. And it also one of the things I've learned, I guess, in the last 6 years, mostly,
Yeah.
it was the approach to people or the approach to situations.
Mhm.
Similar to what the Japanese guy taught me about swallowing and digesting stuff.
Yeah. I like
Well,
that. I might even use that next time.
go for it. I
Well,
mean, he didn't coin it, so I don't know. And he has passed away, God forbid. But
yeah,
yeah.
I like it.
Um, but what I do notice now more and more is I sit on things a little longer
Yeah.
and I let things develop. And rather than reacting to it like I would normally do, like trying to
Mhm.
add something, normally, normally with my personality in the past, I would react to it and try to fix it and be a fireman.
Mhm.
Yep, I need to
Yeah.
fix this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've learned with peace, you don't need to be involved in everything. That's number one. Number two, sometimes letting things percolate on their own might solve their own issues.
Yeah.
Kind of like they'll take care of themselves. And I noticed that things happen if the universe will happen it's on its own without you even trying. Even though you have to deal with it for a little bit, the universe will just deal with it on its own and then it's gone. And I've actually noticed that a couple times this year that's what happened. And I just kind of just let it sat there and I thought, okay, let me just see how this goes,
Yeah.
and where this goes and how it goes and how they react or what they'll do in this situation. And would they be appreciative of things that I did for them and vice versa, right? Like,
Right.
and people left. And I'm kind of like, okay, it is what it is. And that's part of the whole, I think the healing part of it is we are too quick to, like, we're in a society of like, we have to be involved in everything.
Mhm.
And the more we remove ourselves from everything and let people breathe, that's part of the breathing part of it, I think. Let them breathe, let the situation breathe, give it some space and see what happens. I think I think you could see a bigger power out of it because you're now not so entrenched in it.
I absolutely agree with you wholeheartedly. And I think there's like at the beginning, I talked about Taoism and a natural flow. You're kind
Yeah,
of talking about natural flow there. It's kind of like a parent to a large degree. You can be the helicopter parent or the parent that's like, go skin your knee and let them, You know what I mean? And I'm
Yeah,
more that
yeah.
way where I'm like, you go skin your knee, because the truth of it is they're going to have their own life one day, and I'm not going to be there. And I want them to be strong in self. I want them to be solid in who they are and to be able to navigate this world. And so it's a different philosophy, but then trusting that they're going to learn too. That's how people learn. It's like the baby bird getting pushed out of the right.
Yes, yes, many baby little birds.
But they, they'll, I mean, some will survive, some won't, but they have to be in that flow no matter what. They got to be pushed out of the nest.
So to really think about it, everything has a flow, the basically what you just said.
Yes.
Everything
Yeah.
has a flow.
Everything has a flow.
And so in Tai Chi is about flow, right?
Yes.
Yoga is about flow.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as we're flowing with, like, I mean,
And listening to your flow, like your intuition, because the more you do this, the more your intuition, so you have your own natural flow. Like the guy said, digesting, you can digest and be like, should I invite this person to this podcast? Should I do this over here? Should I, but it's really
yeah.
it's listening, going, okay, should I? And there trust, well, now there is this beautiful natural flow to this universe. This universe is quite magical. It really, there's so much magic to it, even though we see all this dark stuff happening, but there's this beautiful, beautiful, that they try to hide. I think there's more beauty by far,
And I agree with that. Like, so we could touch a little bit on this, I guess, is one
Yeah.
of the things that people get so consumed with politics, let's say.
Okay.
Which is a full intoxicated situation. Now, don't get me wrong, I get a little dabbled here and there, but nothing too crazy. And what I do notice though, is that my energy shifts in more of a negative situation, because now I'm being more combative per se.
Yeah.
And then when I'm out of it and I stay in Substack, for example, I'm more of my energy is more shifted to more of creation, growth, community, all that kind of stuff, all the good things. But and I keep going back to Stephen Covey, who basically said, you have a circle of influence, which is only maybe 6 to a feet around you, and that's all you have. Everything else beyond that is beyond your control.
Yeah.
If you stay within the foot of your body, that's who you can control.
Yep, I agree.
Stay there. That's all that matters.
And that's what your breath does. It brings you back to that center. So,
yes.
It will bring you always back to that center that you're even talking about right here. It brings you back to, okay, so the world will try to pull us out all the time. So that's what I think about politicians and the media. It's just like trying to pull you out of stuff. So, let's get you angry. Let's get you reactive. Let's get you over here. Let's get you all riled up. Whatever it is designed to do. I think it's designed to do that. But if you come back, right? So you come back to breath, and because it's literally, if you think about energy for a moment, if you're like you're saying a Substack, you can feel the difference in Substack, what you're doing there. You're creating, you're building. It's a positive. It's really very good. You go watch the news, let's say for an hour, now you're like all pissed. It's literally right.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
It's a crazy thing. So that's why it's coming back to your breath and the remembering that it's a physical energy that you're connecting with. That's what people kind of, with this breath, there's believed that there's this invisible cord that connects us to the universe, and this breath then connects us to this life force that can, kind of grow within the body. So it brings us really solidly back into center.
Yeah. And I agree with that. That's where Tony Robbins said you had to come back to the center of your body.
Yes.
And breathing, and the meditation was the biggest thing. And I have to find that clip, and I'll put it on my post, in my after show post, because I think it's important. I think people need to start figuring that out. I think because if we sit there and we allow other influence, Headspace, called Headspace. So I did that for a while. I loved the free part of it. Then I got into the pay stuff, and I really did not like it. I really liked his monotone. It helped me out. And one of the things he teaches you in that meditation, now it's great because he's teaching you how to meditate, And one of the things very earlier on is like, okay, breathe, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, do you hear that noise? Well, just ignore it, more or less, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh, you're seeing that person walk by, just ignore it. There's no need to ignore it. Now, if I'm going to use it as a dog training thing,
yeah. Go
I'm
ahead.
going to bring that headspace into dog training.
Okay.
So in dog training is when you teach your dog, and this is part of the training, and especially during a walk, you're walking and you're walking, you're walking, you're walking, and it's unison. So like you're both walking and it's a good marching walk, right?
Right.
And then there's another dog with the loose leash, and the guy's like holding it. He's like,
Yeah.
she's running. It's like the dog's everywhere, but your dog is in sequence with you, and you keep walking and walking and walking. You're teaching the dog to ignore his surroundings and ignore that dog harassing him or whatever, the barking and all that. And he's supposed, or he or she is supposed to have no reaction to the dog. That's the same thing in meditation. If you can send yourself so deep into that moment, like headspace, where it says,
Mhm.
ignore those and just focus on you and focus on your center and focus on the energy of what you want to project out there. Because, like in dog walking, I know sounds like crazy
Oh, I
analysis,
get that. I get that.
but in dog walking, you're projecting your your you're as the alpha male, you're trying to project the dog,
Hmm.
like how to lead. And same thing with your meditation. It's about leading. It's about leading your life. It's about discovering. It's about finding purpose in it. And rather than having all this noise around, that's the cause of the many of distraction of your health, your spirit, your mental state. All that noise hurts you as you move forward in life. And the more you can push those away, I think that's where your success of life becomes.
Yeah, it is. I agree with you. And I think it's coming into your soul, your spirit, that inner connection. I think, again, finding that flow, coming into that heart. And it is a physical energy. And I just really think that meditation, I don't even know how to put it into words how powerful it really is. I really don't. But I would say this, and this one is that a lot of people say they can't meditate. They'll say, I can't, I don't. But the truth of it is meditation, your mind is going to think.
Oh
Your
yeah.
mind is going to think. A lot of people think, well, I just can't do that. I can't transcend. I can't. But if you start recognizing that it will think, you'll be like, yeah, I got to go to the grocery store. I got to go walk that dog. Got to do that. But what I would recommend is when you go realize you're going off like that, come back to your breath again. Because again, once you start realizing you're cultivating this energy, this deeper connection inside the body, there again, it's an invisible cord. Then these thoughts get less and less, and it goes back to what you're saying, where you're not even distracted anymore. Because what happens is you're so in tune with this connection to the breath, to this connection to you, to this the spirit almost within you, that you can, you might even hear the dog, or maybe you don't, but you're not reactionary to the dog barking, or
Right.
you're not reactionary to any of it. But that's what the breath does. That's what the lungs do. Like when we go deep. And so when you breathe, what I would recommend is people do deep belly breathing. Go way into the belly, not do the shallow in the lungs. Really go deep into that belly.
Yeah. Well,
That's
so
really,
Rob just said meditation was the art of starting over and over and over again. It's
yeah.
that, which I agree. Now, um, what's the best way to meditate? Like, there's laying down. Like meditation, people think I gotta cross my leg.
Yeah.
Was it applesauce?
That's good.
Applesauce cross applesauce. I can't remember.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know either.
If it's cross applesauce, something like
Yeah.
that. As a
Yeah.
kid, or we
Well, that is the traditional way, but because it's important to keep the back straight in
okay.
that way. But there's walking meditation, which a lot of people don't think about, where, again, you can do Tai Chi or even yoga can be a form of meditation. There can be all, but if you're just doing meditation, I would bring up maybe the walking meditation, like if you're out in nature and you just simply keep your feet on the ground, right? And you start just watching your feet walk and bringing into your breath. It might sound really weird, but there's a beautiful thing that can happen within the body and getting into a pretty much a stillness, especially if you have a really active mind. That can be a really nice way of trying to bring your body into a meditative state. I also know there's mudra meditations. I don't know if you've ever heard of mudras. Mudras are hand gestures that came from both Eastern and West. Like, so in Hindu and Buddhist, they have different mudras. And so, like, Buddha got enlightened under the Bodhi tree with this, what the hands are on the knees, supposedly, if you believe in this stuff. But he got enlightened under the Bodhi tree with this earth mudra. And that's why you'll see Buddha with his hands a lot on the knees.
That's
But
cool.
they're hand gestures that can also help in meditation. The other thing that I would recommend if people want to try is say your name before you meditate. It can be a really nice way of really coming into your breath and coming into your body a little bit. Just really right before, and even if it's internally, just say your name.
So can laying down be one way of like, because
Yeah, you
headspace.
actually could. I think so. It could, especially if your body. I mean, I would almost recommend it. It's depending on your body. If your body just can't sit upright because of the way that the body is, it helps the flow of the chi going up. But as we age in your body, if you can't, yes, you can do it lying down.
So headspace had me laying down.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Because they said whatever's comfortable for you, laying down's fine, and
Yeah,
you could be falling asleep. And sometimes I did fall asleep.
yeah, that's why I
And
would recommend sitting up.
yeah, the Tony Robbins was I was sitting down on the edge. It had me sitting down on the edge of the bed, and then I would prime. Then it's called the prime, and I
Mm-hmm.
would do it there. I've done the traditional way where we're in yoga. We would sit down with cross-legged or the yoga pose of
Mm-hmm.
crossing. It's not really crossing, but you did that. And then sometimes we would lay down in yoga and do the meditation there,
Mm-hmm.
take 10 minutes, whatever. And once you're done, that's when you're done. And then, but I found it to be comfortable more laying down for me because I'm a back sore.
Well, I think so. And that's why I'd say yes with the back. If you have health issues, yeah, as long as you don't fall asleep. And yeah, because it's really about, or you could do the walking in nature a little bit. That might be a really good one too. I don't know if you're a walker, but that could be a really good one.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is the only reason why they do this, the traditional and sitting up, just so you're aware, is because of that flow of chi.
Yeah.
It really is to align it, and that's why they sit like that, because it's this energy here, and then the back is straight, so it flows up.
So to help people, one of the things I was taught is to suck your gut in. So when you're sitting up, make sure your shoulders are pulled back.
Yeah.
Suck in your gut, like squeeze it in, and then keep and bring your shoulders down and pull it back, pull it down, and then that's how we did in yoga.
Yeah.
I mean, each yoga teacher does it differently.
It is true.
Yeah.
You know.
So with that said, like how now you're on Substack now, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, I
so
am.
what brought you on Substack? What would be the reason?
Well, I wish I was more active, and so I really appreciate you doing this. But I had my dad had health troubles and things like that. So you know how life happens.
Yes.
This last month, I've just had been a whirlwind of things happening, and I did an article, and I love writing because it can go you deeper into your soul. There's something so beautiful about it that when I write, and I'm sure you do this, where you don't even know it's there sometimes, right? You start writing and then you're like, oh, wow, I'm feeling this coming out. I don't know if this happens to you, but it's like I can go deeper and go, oh my gosh, this is going on. So that's what I did with this last article. I started realizing how the writing was helping me, and how meditation during all of this turmoil of my life, it's been my one thing that helps me come back to myself. And I go, oh, like if I would have went through all these challenges 20 years ago without meditation, I would have crumbled. It's an amazing thing how I can go through so many challenges and still find joy. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh wow, this is really great. Like, oh, I'm feeling crazy and it's so crazy right now, but I can still find those moments of joy. And that's been I really attribute to working with meditation and coming to being able to do that, to where you kind of like what you said about the dog thing, you're not consumed by what's happening over here, you're still being able to come in and find that joy and that love and that light. And so I guess that I found that out when I was writing that article. I was like, wow. So that was a long thing about Substack, but I do love it so much. Like, I wish this last month's been hard for me, but
Well, you wouldn't expect a podcast with meditation go from a dog walking to digesting the stuff and all this other things, but that's just funny.
yeah, I know. I enjoyed it. It's been
Hey, I was
awesome.
able to wheel it in, so it was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Actually, the dog walking is actually for me a meditation in
Yeah,
itself.
I can see that. And
And
that's
I put some headset on, I put some nice music on, and we're just focused. We just
Well, and animals do that. When you think about when you're with your animals, there's a meditative state. There's such a healing thing with animals, and that's again with nature. So they can be, I just gave my son his a cat, and he was going through some inner turmoil. And this cat, I just felt it. I was like, I think if this will help you. And oh my God, this cat just was the right timing for him and his healing. And so I think there is the thing with animals and all kinds of things, nature. It's not just meditation, of course. I'm drawn to it, but I think there's so many ways that we can work with this natural flow and nature. I'm such a believer in nature, if you can't tell.
oh
uh,
yeah, no, I can hear it. So no, I was actually writing. I was chapter 2 of Remy. I was just like finishing it up today. I was writing it for a couple days, and I was like writing its flow was in writing, and there was some this book's a little more challenging because there's a couple things that happen that are not in the positive,
yeah.
but I was trying to figure out the flow of the conversations, and it didn't click until I started to kind of like put some more time to it, because I was like doing it in pieces here and there. But today I was like, oh, I'm gonna clean it up today, and or yesterday. I can't. I think days are running into each other, but it was really strange weekend with the flow, because one of the things that we did was we put flowers on people's grave sites, and we
Mm,
had to go like four different grave sites in about a 10-mile radius.
uh-huh.
Um, and it was sort of like, then there was a couple other things that just happened, that you have these thoughts, you're like going, wow, these are the things, like, Catholic, you think about risen, because he rised. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, here we're putting flowers on people that are not going to rise again, right?
Mm,
Uh, but do they rise in memory? And what does that do to our flow in life? What does that do to our, like, how does that look like moving forward in our lives? Like, because we're really picking them up in our memories and holding them there, and not in a negative, like a lot of them were all positive, and there were some emotional points and things like
mhm,
that of the day. But you know you could see that there was still a lot of love for the person, even though they're passed. How does that translate afterlife? I'm seeing it in some ways. Does that fall in the Buddha world? How does the afterlife? I'm not making sense, but I hope I'm making sense here. But you know how, like, there was so much emotional yesterday, and dealing with the writing of the dog, and or writing about Remy, and writing about, and then looking at that, and there was so much emotional stuff that had to include people's passing and things like that, and there was so much flow, there was so much, and it's not negative energy, it was just more or less of, I guess, feeling it, figuring it out. Like, how does Buddha sees that afterlife?
Well, what I first will say is that when you're talking about putting these on, I almost want to cry. So it's so heart touching that you did that, because I think that you're honoring the death of them and their life. It's so honoring. So when we put flowers, I feel like it's the intention of the flower itself. So we can go and put a flower on somebody's grave, and with no intention at all, and just say, okay, here it is, I did my duty. But when you know what I mean, but you're coming from this space of like really thought provoking, and I feel like there's an honoring there, which I just have to acknowledge that, because I think that was really beautiful. But as life and death, I mean, I think in the Buddhist philosophy, really, it's all about being a good person, and living a good life. And the Buddhist is more of not a religion; it's more of a path. Really, a lot of people look at Buddhism as a religion, and I think some people do. But in my teachings and Taoism and things, it's more of a path. And so it's more of a path on how you live your life, or how your ancestors, and honoring your ancestors and honoring their life. So trying to be as best of a human as you can. And this is where the heart comes in, like, opening of the heart and being of the heart, and being the best that you can in the most honest way that you can as well. Because sometimes within my teachings, I'll say it's not always easy to be a really good human. It's not, you
No,
know,
it's not.
it's really not. And so when we acknowledge so we're gonna fall down, we're gonna struggle with that. And I think sometimes just coming to the awareness that you're doing your best and that you're really trying, that's being a good person, that you're acknowledging that, hey, I might have messed up, but I'm really trying. So I don't know if I answered your question on the afterlife. It's more just of a path. you
Just
know
path.
it's more of a path. I mean, they do believe in reincarnation, a lot of them.
Hmm.
There is a lot of them believe in reincarnation. That's part of it. So I don't, that was a little different for me being raised Catholic, going into that. But I believe there's truth in all religions. I don't really believe there's one religion with all the answers. I really believe you follow your heart, and you follow what feels right for you, and that path. And I think you can, have a little bit of all if you want. So I like love. I'm not one of those that don't. I love a lot of religions, as long as you're trying to be the best human you can be, and it's teaching you that.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I don't think, well, there's certain religions that I have questions about, but
Yeah.
and there are some that I kind of just sit there and think, everything has a merit of some kind. I think the goal for me is, as long as it makes you a good person or
Yeah.
helps you become a better person,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. But if it becomes the point where you start to use it to harm other people, or use it to
Well,
suppress or oppress, whatever you want to look at that,
now there are
that's,
religions that are doing that, where you have the doctrine and the people doing that. But I mean, the people, who say this is the right religion, or those, I'm talking more about doctrine or philosophy,
yeah.
the actual teachings when I say that. Because there is organized, similar to politics, where there's a bit of control that can happen that goes
Oh
on
yeah.
there. So I'm not naive in that. I'm just talking about doctrine, like the actual teaching. So if you look at the teachings of Buddha and Jesus, they're quite similar. There's a lot of similarities in those teachings. You know, um, and coming back to what the purity of that is, and what the truth of that is.
And that's the same thing with Muslim
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they're very similar. I mean, if you don't, I mean, there's always extremists on one side or the other that
Hmm.
takes it to that next level, which is crazy. So, what is your favorite tea?
My favorite tea is probably, thank you. I know I drink tea all the time. Ginger. I like a little ginger, and I like green tea.
Oh, okay.
I like the ginger. I'm really big into ginger flavor. Do you like tea or no?
I drink a
Are
lot
you
of
a coffee
tea.
guy?
I drink a lot of tea. Green tea is green tea with lemon and ginger,
Oh, yeah.
and I also drink dandelion, which is like more of the dark dandelion. It's like an instant
Mhm.
coffee. I drink that, and that helps with your liver and a couple other things. It cleans out your kidney, cleans out a bunch of stuff. Obviously, green tea and lemon and ginger is intentional. It cleans out a bunch of stuff.
It does.
One of the things I like to make in the morning time is a turmeric, ginger, um, ginseng, apple apple cider vinegar, and some honey and lemon. I think it's a mix of, and I drink that my first thing. That has
Okay.
pepper.
Can I add a little thing? I don't know if you'll ever want to do this, but I just have to tell you because with your health stuff, this is
Yeah,
another thing. Again, Iamoto. If you bless the water or your tea, you just say a little blessing for your health, okay? And you drink it every morning, whatever you're drinking. That really does. I know it's all might sound a little woo woo, but it really is because, again, thinking of your blood,
yeah,
your blood is but it does change the structure. It's like blessing your food. We used to do it all the time where we would bless our food, and things like that. There is a blessing that happens with each one. And then the Chinese and the ancient culture, they would go to the temples and get their water blessed every, just like, and there is an energy of blessing. And I would, you might want to,
no, that's awesome. There is a place nearby. It's a Saint place and Mary. It's near. It's in Maryland, and it's the. But there's water there. It's a Catholic thing, but
yeah,
but anybody can go and visit. And there's always holy water. It's been blessed,
yes,
and people from miles away will go up there. It's a gorge, and they'll get it. They have open mass out there, which is kind of cool.
yeah.
Um, and they'll grab the holy, and they'll fill buckets of water of
Oh,
of
my
this whole.
body's so much reacting to this. That's some holy water right there. I'm telling you, that's some good water. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would bring it home, and I would have that. Yeah, I would drink it just to
Yeah.
say, just to bless me. Yeah, but you're right. I think
Yeah.
I think that's the art. I think we miss. I think we just miss the simple things in life of like just being grateful for the things that we receive. And that was one of the things that I learned from Tony Robbins was
Mhm.
being grateful is the most powerful thing that you could ever do to your life. And no matter what it is, like be
Yeah.
grateful for the sunshine, be grateful for the rain, be grateful for the grass, be grateful for the snow.
Yeah.
They're simple, stupid things, but they have a bigger, larger meaning in your life.
Well, and when you do that, when I would sit and say, what am I grateful for? You're saying most of the things that I am grateful for. It's so funny. Yes, I'm grateful for my house, but it's so interesting what I really enjoy. I'll be like, oh, I love that bird singing over here. Or,
Yeah,
I mean, you start to realize this, the more simplistic, you can really see what you really are grateful for.
yeah,
And it's really those moments, like this moment with you. I love moments, and tea like this, those always give me the moments. Whenever I have my tea in the morning, it's like a moment for me. And then it'll bring me into my meditation spot. And then it's like that moment in time that I get to be with me. And it's it starts with the tea. It always starts with me grabbing my tea. It's such a simple thing, but I love it. I love the ritual of it. I love because it brings me back to me again.
yeah.
So it's all.
Actually, the first thing that I was taught, so I was like doing some research, and one of the things they were saying was warm water in the morning time. Like the Chinese would
Mhm.
drink warm water
Yeah.
first thing in the morning, and then that would help with their digestive stuff. But also, I came across something else where they do olive oil.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, olive oil is really good.
water, warm water, and a teaspoon of olive oil in the morning time before you do anything,
Yeah.
and that will help flush. It helps to detox
Yes.
the body.
Yes, it does, and I would recommend that for you. Yes,
Oh
I
yeah, I've been doing it. Trust me.
have you.
I've been-
That's a really good thing because one of the biggest things of toxins is you wanna make sure you're flushing everything out is in the olive oil, not to get like but it's, letting your bowels and everything. You want out all of that to flow and, because it is toxins, and you
well,
wanna get out those toxins.
well, especially when you're on medication. So one of the things that when you're on
Mhm.
medication, it helps. It doesn't. It kind of prevents the bowel movement to run naturally because
Yeah.
it's 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 doing its thing, which is good, but it's also having some also negative things. So I've been consistently drinking warm water and olive oil, a teaspoon of olive oil a day during the morning time and then in the evening before I go to bed, just to help with bowel movements, to keep things going, keep myself regulated.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking about it
And that's
as
so important. So many people don't talk about it, but it's so important. It is for a cleansing. It is.
well, castor oil.
Yeah.
That's the reason why you did it when you were young.
Yeah.
Like when you gave the chef the teaspoon in your
Yeah.
face,
Yeah.
that was to keep you get regulated because you
Yeah.
needed to be regulated because you probably ate, especially kids, sugar, high starch,
Yeah.
all that stuff blocks you up.
It does.
And if it blocks you up, what it does, it retains all that stuff in your body. It's a toxic. And the more you can let it go, the better it is in your life. Definitely.
Are you
Yeah.
are you gluten free at all?
Hmm. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, much as I can. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm vegan. I'm more Mediterranean type of diet.
Okay.
That's where my oh blood testing, like
Yeah.
your blood is also aligned to your meals.
Yes.
So if you eat if you're eating a lot of starch and all that, and your body blood does not like that, you're gonna be it's gonna harm you more.
And that's something you want to look at because you're dealing with your blood. So
Yes.
so yours is really with your diet. You want to make sure and you do that. That's why I was asking about gluten because yeah, with the pharmaceuticals and everything, gluten, especially for certain, it's getting better, but not really. In Europe it is, but it's like a glue. It glues into your intestinal tract, and so then the toxins, they can't get out really. it's
Well, this
very it's very hard for the body.
There, that's just with okay, gluten, especially gluten. There was a guy that ate pizza
Hmm.
every single day, and he gotten so sick. He ate it for a whole entire year. It was like,
Mm,
but what you just said, it was stuck. It was staying in his body. It
yeah.
wasn't flushing out, and he wasn't eating the best pizzas. He was eating the garbage pizzas.
Oh,
And I mean, there's different type of pizzas, but like he wasn't
yeah.
eating high quality pizza. He was just eating like Domino's or like
Yeah.
like that type
Oh,
of crap. I'm not saying pizza entirely are all crap, but
yeah. I get.
there's different ones, and that one he was just getting he was doing Pizza Hut, which is full of bad
I
chemicals in
can't
it,
even imagine.
and he was eating that every single day, and his body just shut down.
I believe it. I mean, because you're literally putting glue around, and you got to think of it. Not only are you not releasing the toxins, but then the good stuff isn't getting in there either. So now it's, your whole body. It's just here's a story for you talking about, if it, you don't mind, something that happened with my husband at the time. So this was about 10 years ago. And his whole body was, um, reacting, like you could feel the heat coming out of his body, and his whole nervous system was like shaking. You could feel it. And we took him to the doctor and everything. We're like, well, what's happening? They said they thought he had MS. They couldn't figure out, kind of like you. So we were going out over and over. We were taking him to the doctors and everywhere else. And so he was starting to lose his vision. It was really, really getting really scary. So I was like, hun, okay. So finally we did a holistic thing. And I was like, and we went in and they couldn't diagnose it because he thought we were thinking it was gluten, right? But they couldn't test it. So if you have celiac, I think it might have changed by now. They were like, well, you don't have that. And the other people were saying, well, no, I think it is. And so we said, okay, let's get him off of gluten. Let's just do it for a month. Let's just try it. And it really detoxed his whole body. He could then kindly see, and it was a detox, but it
Yeah.
was really in his body. And it was amazing what the diet does. I mean, watching him, it was so sad because he was like losing his vision, his heat. I was like, are you dying? What's happening?
Not now.
Not no, you're way too young. It was so scary, but it was so interesting to me. Like that's what like started leading me on this path of like, especially on the diet part of things, because I really started to see everything coming. It is mind, body, spirit. I mean, you can really tell how it's all interconnected, and
Mm.
keeping the Mediterranean diet's really good. It's kind of the philosophy of 70% fruits, vegetables, grains, those whole grains, and then only 30% of meat if you're some people are vegetarians, but if you're not, if you could keep it that kind of, it's kind of,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I think I moved more to I'm more not to a vegan diet, but more of Mediterranean where the meat is like maybe 10%, 20,
Okay,
20,
that's really good.
25.
It's not
It's
yeah.
not, but I do eat a lot of protein, but it's clean protein, like, chicken and probably, and also also it's really important to get the best food out there because
Organic
organic, especially chicken,
or
because
home
it's,
or home
yeah, the
more.
chicken part of it is even though you might get organic chicken, there's a difference between organic chicken and a chilled chicken because a chilled chicken is hung and dried in a chill fat in a freezer. Organic still runs through the process of being bleached, and that still has some remnants of it. Like the
Mm,
ones that are non-organic, they're run through the bleach process. So you have to be very careful what you order too, because if you don't eat the right food now, it's going to cost you more down the road.
yes,
Definitely.
and
Yeah.
that's very much a purity thing, kind of like really making sure what you're putting in your body. And that we are so horrible here with what we.
Oh,
It's just so dreadful.
yeah. And the desserts are the worst things you can have here because they're not healthy. You read the ingredients. There's like 25 of them you can't pronounce. I'm just like,
That's what I do too. I'll look at the back and I like, if it's too wordy, I'm like, oh, that's just bad. I'm not even gonna bother. I don't even know what that is. But I cook all the time and do all that just because. So and so my son, I don't know how long we have here, but I have.
yeah,
Do,
we're
do we?
good.
Okay.
We're
All
good.
right. So this is a good story for you. Well, hopefully we'll see. So I am one of those people that can sense energies, and I've had woo-woo things happen my whole life. So I was pregnant with my son, right? And his name's Noah, and I was pregnant with him at the time. And at that time, this only happened with him. I had 3 children, and when I was pregnant with him, he was talking to me, right? And I know that sounds really weird, but he was, and he was telling me, "Don't vaccinate me, don't vaccinate me." And I was like, well, that's just really weird. Now I got to go tell my husband, and he's like conservative. He's like, well, I'm like, I don't think we should vaccinate him. Now he's 18 now, 19. And I was like, I don't think we should. I really think I need to listen to my intuition. And he was so loud about it. And he was such a talker. Like, it was so weird. I was like, who is this kid? This is so weird. But anyway, I decided, okay, I'm just going to listen. He's born. I'm just not going to vaccinate him. Okay. I decided. And it comes to find out this kid was allergic to everything. He was allergic to everything. When I say everything, I mean he couldn't have shellfish, he couldn't have pizza, he couldn't have, I mean, not pizza, cheese, any dairy, um, the
Wow.
gluten, um, all of it. It was just like, oh my God, this kid can't eat anything. So I'm not sure what they put in at that time. I think there was mercury. There was just different. I think they've done a lot of changing. So I'm not here to tell people don't vaccinate. I'm just telling you my story with my son. And I listened, and I don't know what would have happened, but I'm really confident that I made the right decision with him after he was so allergic to everything. It was really kind of a freaky thing for me.
So you had this power of intuition,
I
really.
do, and I do think it has a lot to do with meditation. Just so everybody has it. It's not
Yeah.
it's not just
No,
me.
I agree. Everybody has it, but just to have that's an awesome story. I wish are you gonna write it?
I should. I have these things all. Yeah, I have another story with my dog. I have all kinds of stories like that over my life, but it's been interesting that way. But and that's what's taught me too, to listen to it, and to cultivate it, because it is a power we all have. It's not.
Right.
It is. We all have it. And that's the beauty, again, coming back to meditation, because that's how you access it. That's a firm believer of how you really, really access it.
Well, Tiffany, man, I'm gonna get back to meditation because of you.
Yay! I'm so happy if I can influence
Because
you.
I'm gonna start like
Because you want to talk to your children, you want to talk to those people, right?
no, I just think to myself, I have to really get back to this because this is something that I'm missing in my life.
Yeah, and the lungs.
and the lungs and all that.
I do.
And I was working out a little bit today, and I was breathing. I was doing breathing exercise because the doctor in my head, like, you're gonna breathe,
Yeah.
breathe, 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 breathe. And so I'm like, okay. So I'm learning, like, I'm really trying to breathe. And I think those exercises, but I'm gonna go and find that Tony Robbins. So I'll put that in the summary.
Yeah.
And if you got anything you want to share, please text it to me, and I'll put
Oh,
it put it in the
yeah.
summary. And Tiffany, this has been great.
I've enjoyed it too. You're so awesome. I really
Thank
enjoyed it.
you.
It's been fun, and it's been so lighthearted, and I love that.
We could have gone for another hour and a half, but I
Yeah.
have to get up and walk around due to my doctor's
I didn't know how
recommendations.
long this was.
No, this is okay.
Is it okay? Well,
Yeah,
thank
no, we're good. No, this is more than I expected. How's that?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's great.
Okay. Well, it was so fun. You're just awesome, and so thank you for reaching out to me. I do really appreciate it.
And everybody out there, thank you for commenting. I hope we covered a lot of things that you were questions on, and being part of this podcast. Next week we're back here next week at 4:00. And Tiffany, again, how do people get a hold of you?
Tiffany, if you want to reach out to me, my email is tiffany@myzenliving.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have a website,
Yeah, it's myzenliving.com. So it's
Okay.
Tiffany@myzenliving or myzenliving.com. Yeah.
And when's your next article coming out on Substack?
Well, maybe I'll have to do it about my son. I also, just if I'm doing it, I also give away, well, you can look at it, free 30-minute things with me, there's never any obligation. I don't ever do that. You just chat about energy stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah.
This is great. Now that, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.